Good morning, everyone. Welcome to LIBOR's Going Global webinar series. My name is Christine Dixon, and I have the pleasure of serving as your 2026 Global Chairperson for the Long Island Board of Realtors. I'm excited to officially kick off our first webinar of the year and start with Season 6. Our Going Global series is designed to help realtors broaden their global perspectives, build meaningful international relationships, and better serve clients whose real estate goals extend beyond borders. There's no better way to begin the year by spotlighting one of our most influential real estate markets in the world with one of LIBOR's newest MOU partners, China Alliance of Real Estate Agencies, CARIA. China consistently ranks among the top countries of origin for foreign buyers of U.S. real estate. According to the National Association of Realtors International Transactions in U.S. Real Estate Report, and the impact it clearly felt here in New York, while Chinese buyers remain a strong presence in the New York market. We also see Long Island-based professionals and families establishing ties in China for business, education, and investment, reinforcing the importance of global partnerships. Today's session also serves as a perfect lead-in to our Lunar New Year celebration on February 3rd, 2026. As we begin a new season of Going Global, this webinar offers early look at the markets, relationships, and cultural connections we'll be celebrating as part of the event. We are honored to be joined today by both Ling Chao, NAR's Global Ambassador to China, and Mr. Gene Shu, President of the International Operations for the China Alliance of Real Estate Agencies. Gene is licensed real estate broker in both mainland China and Hong Kong and has served as President of International Operations of CARIA since 2018, where he leads global engagement and cross-border collaboration efforts. CARIA is the largest industry-wide chain corporation organization in China's real estate brokerage sector, representing 71 leading brokerages firms across more than 200 cities. With a network of over 80,000 offices and approximately 740,000 licensed agents nationwide. Through this expansive platform, Gene works as the intersection of international real estate strategies, professional standards, and global partnerships. We are grateful to have Gene with us today and look forward to his insights into China's real estate market and the opportunities for international collaboration. Throughout the session, should you have any questions, please write them into the chat to address during the Q&A session towards the end. Thank you for being here with us, and it is my pleasure to turn things over to guest speaker, Gene Shu.
Thank you, Christine. So I'm just going to hit the share screen and start my presentation. Will it be okay?
Yes, please do.
So it's a great honor to share with you an overview of the current state of China's real estate market and how it is structurally evolving and what does this mean for the international investor, especially our friends from New York City. So this is my goal today, just share with you what's happening here and hopefully can give you some sort of idea and give you some hints on how to work with Chinese buyers and maybe how to try to invest in China's real estate property market. And China's property market sector is no longer in a traditional cyclical slowdown. It is undergoing a fundamental transition in growth model, valuation logic, and capital allocation. Understanding the transition is essential for the serious global buyers and investors. So as you can see from the numbers, the market remains under pressure with key national indicators still contracting in year 2025. And we are undergoing a structural divergence. It has the different market segmentation everywhere. And it is the performance right now varies dramatically by city, by property type and between the resale and new home market. So it's that huge divergence everywhere. And number three, you can see that this is a government behavior. The government choose to sort of decisively shift from stimulating the volume focused developer sort of a mode to a resale market. Resale market is pretty familiar with the US realtors and with US buyers and sellers, but that is something new to our Chinese people. Because previously in China, the fundamental difference between the real estate market and the US real estate market is that in China, we have more than 50% of the real estate market. It happens in the new home market, where in the States, it's single digits, only 8 to 9% is in the new home market. The rest are all like resale market. This is quite Euro to you guys, but this is new to us. So the government want to make sure that things going in a smooth and in a not that sort of disruptive way, so that all the Chinese people can work through this hard time together in a relatively peace mode. And you can see number 4 is that there is still selective opportunities. It is no doubt end of an era where, you know, as long as you purchase property in China, you can make money. That era is done. That is gone. But it's not end of the story. It's not end of the world. Right now, we are seeing in selective cities, like in first-tier city, like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, there are still like solid investment opportunities. And we can still see the upswing of the real estate market in selected residential market. Right now, the battlefield has go to the, you know, very specific property in very specific neighborhood. So we are back to normal. We're back to common sense. We're back to, you know, the real estate 101, where not the speculative investors dominant market. Right now, the end user who is going to actually eventually live in the property is dominating the market. In a down market, those buyers are very, very selective, very, very picky. So it's not an easy market, but it's not to say that we do not have any opportunity. Opportunity is still there. It's just a little bit harder than before. If you see the number without context, you're gonna feel that, oh my God, is this happening? Are those guys over there still surviving? Are those guys still okay? Well, with this number alone, it must seem very scary. But remember, this is a government decisive decision. This is a chosen decision. This is not something that was forced by anything. This is the government decided way to go through this hard time together with our buyers and with developers and real estate industry together. So the number is still scary though. Real estate investment is down 16% year on year. New housing starts is 20% down. It means that the actual shovel hit the ground. We are talking about 20% down. And the new home sales still like 8% down compared with what it was last year. But we all know that even for the countries that has experienced very similar or even worse scenario, like countries like Japan 20 years ago, anything, they still survive. So I don't see any reason China couldn't able to survive this current situation and maybe become better again. Not maybe next year, 2026, or in the coming 2 years or 3 years that soon, but eventually we're gonna survive. We're gonna make it happen. By saying structural divergence, it has become the market's defining feature. Right now, China is no longer a one housing market. As I mentioned earlier, the time whether you purchase a property in first tier city, Shanghai, or in a third tier city, Guizhou, you can all make 50% or more profit. Those days are gone. Right now, you have to be very selective. Choose first tier city only. And the very centralized urban location with solid property management service. Only we have those three criteria together, we possibly will be able to hold the value of the property. Essentially, one the key drivers of the divergence relies on three portions. One is the geographic location. In China, there are only four first-tier cities: Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. Well, the second key driver is the product quality. Right now, because developer is very tight on their cash in hand as well, and there are the top 20 top 20 cities in China. They pretty much absorb 50% or more of the developers' investment money nationwide. So in China, we have about 600 to 700 cities nationwide. Top two cities represent about 50% of the developers' investment in purchase their land to have their landing bank or stuff like that. So which means that they are very, very cautious. They only buy the land that they are sure they will be able to develop with the very constrained budget, and they were able to sell out. Only with those conditions they will be able to develop. Otherwise, they will be very, very cautious. And right now, as I mentioned earlier, China, we are becoming relatively mature than it was like 2 or 20 years ago. Right now in China, on average, the resale and the new home market, they're pretty much half and half. So right now, we are getting to a stage where secondary market is going to become dominant in years to come. There are many criteria to drive the development of the real estate market, but essentially it is the consistent inflow of the people and the solid industry, either it's high tech or industrial or financial. You're going to have a solid industry support, and also you're going to have like young people with decent income that can support and can justify the existence of the property. And those are the three key criteria that are going to justify the setting of new development or the transaction amount of resale market. So right now, the great majority of the real estate transaction happens in the first tier and second tier cities. Second tier cities such as Hangzhou and Chengdu are top role model for the top tier cities. They have pretty decent high-tech companies and have pretty solid financial institutions, headquarters, or like regional hub of those facilities. So those strong tier 2 cities are attracting people from nationwide as well. So right now, we can say that sustainable population inflow, concentrated industrial presence, and higher income growth are the three key criteria drive the market resilience. And but on the other hand, for the lower tier cities, such as fourth tier or fifth tier cities, or even like small cities in the very rural area, those properties suffering a lot. So if you are a young person, like 20 plus, 30 plus, just graduating from college, and you happen to purchase a property in your hometown, which is a third tier or fourth tier or lower tier cities, then you are relatively in a big trouble, because chances are the valuation of the property that you purchased 2 years ago is going to have a minimum of 40 to 50% drop compared with the time when you purchase the property, and you're gonna have to pay a significant amount of mortgage on a monthly basis for the next like 20 or 30 years as well. So there is a tendency for the young people who purchase properties in the fourth tier or fifth tier cities. They just abandon their property. So if you see from the headlines of newspapers from China, you can see that a lot of people abandon their properties, and chances are they are referring to the people who purchase property in the lower tier cities. In the first tier cities and stronger tier 2 cities, the property are still pretty strong, and the price is still like relatively resilient. And we are even to begin to see increased number of transactions starting from November of last year in Beijing and Shanghai already, which means it's relatively hitting the bottom of this market of these two cities at this stage, as far as most of the industry experts is thinking and as they judging the market. Previously, Chinese government using the like stimulus policy on regular basis, like back in 2008, when the financial crisis happens in the States and the rest part of the world, Chinese government used like 4 trillion US dollar worth of investment, so that we have like a V shape of the economic growth. So we hit the bottom really fast and then start to grow really fast as well. But right now, for this year, starting from last year and the year before, the government decided we are not going to do that again. I guess the government is choosing between the controlled sort of price versus a unavoidable explosion if letting this increase of the property market going on as it was like 10 years ago. So I still believe that although it's relatively tough at the beginning for the homeowners in the second tier cities and lower, but eventually I think it is very solid. It is a very solid solution. We would rather see a controlled price adjustment rather than the explosion or the sort of bankrupt of all the developers. And we don't want that happen at all. So that in the new home market, the product differentiation has replaced the policy stimulus as the primary sales driver. The market right now is being reshaped by end user demand, not the speculative capital. Because right now we are in the down market, so that the buyers can be really picky and they are really very cautious. They are negotiating and bargaining all the time, which is not a bad thing. They sort of encourage the developer to further develop the product to meet the need of the end user, to meet the need of the one who's actually is going to live in that property, instead of meet the need of a sort of a speculator who usually purchase 5 condos and then sell 4, just keep 1 and making profit out of like flip. Right now, the core liquidity referring to resale market in this context. Previously, the developer of China, because we're always in relatively speaking seller's market, because we do not have enough supply to meet the growing need of the home buyers, even till like 10 years ago. So the developer can set the price pretty much at relatively favorable term to the developer themselves. So they usually set it pretty high. It absorbs the potential of the property appreciation for the next 5 or even 10 years. And and right now, the better thing is that people are getting used to understand the real market and the real value of their property by observing the resale market value of their property. This may seem common sense for the people in the States, but this is really significantly means a lot for the Chinese buyer and sellers, because for the first time we have a sort of we have a benchmark in the market, and in the real transaction market we can tell how much this property is worth. And also it has everything to do with the growing attention from the government to set up a nationwide platform where we can collect all the transaction value of the property. Previously, we have to visit by the local branches to find out the resale prices, just branch by branch. So we do not have, relatively speaking, a great picture idea. Right now, we have the option of observing the price in a larger scale as well. This is something very helpful for the Chinese buyer and seller, and for the agents in the market as well. So as my previous slides mentioned, right now in China, in selected cities, the resale transaction even represent about 2/3 of the total transaction, which is really good. And we are anticipating and hoping that in the coming years, maybe next 20 or 30 years, we will accomplish to a goal where our resale transaction represents about 90 or 95% of the total real estate market transaction portion, just like what it is currently in the States or in the New York City. And by then, we can say that the market is really maturing. At this stage, we're still evolving to that stage. So just to emphasize again, this is a transition from developer-led expansion to a resale-driven, liquidity-focused market, similar to mature global cities. So the top 20 cities now represent more than 50% of all the national land sale revenue. So that the capital, they all focus on the projects that relatively can be safe from the developer's perspective. And previously, developers just bet on the, because China previously was in a relatively bull market. Regardless which city you buy property, you're gonna make a profit of roughly like 50% in the next 2 or 3 years. So that encouraged developer to build new development projects every single city of China, more than 600 cities, as we mentioned earlier. So all the properties has been built, but they were able to sell due to the down market at this stage. It is a huge expense. It is a huge waste of materials and a huge waste of the capital as well. But right now it's getting better. We're just hoping that all the developers will be able to learn from that and do not make the similar mistake ever again in the future. So that right now the government specifically focus on the financial stability. All the developers are required to put their money in the government supervised escrow account, and they have to make sure that they finish the project they started before they're able to, you know, have like salary or bonus or purchase new land or make any investment, even they are listed company. As you all know that this is the industry-wide solution. So it causes some liquidity issue nationwide, even to the top developers in China. Like the number one, the biggest developer in China is Wanke. It is from U.S. perspective, it's like Lennar of the states, and Wanke right now is suffering the liquidity pressure as well. It hasn't have any delinquent in terms of the bond payment yet. It doesn't file anything related to the bankruptcy yet, but with the government, with governments keep on squeezing the liquidity from the developers' account and everything. If if doesn't have financial support from the bank or from the bond holders in the next 30 days, there is a potential risk that is gonna default on the bond that is mature by the end of this January. So think about it. This is the biggest and the best developer of China. And not mentioning the Evergrande, we all know that already filed bankrupt. It used to be the one of the largest developer from China as well. But even this thing happens, the government didn't change the mind. Still believe that they still have in control of the situation, and they would rather to see a controlled sort of, I wouldn't call it a collapse. They would rather see a controlled decrease of the development and the decrease of the pricing of the resale and the new home market property. Rather, they would rather see this than to see the inevitable explosion if we didn't control that at all. So I think there is this is it's just to compare two case. One is worse, one is worse, one is worse, one is worst. So the government choose the worst case scenario. It's not the worst, but still, it is pretty tough for the developers and for the industry participants. But right now, in the first tier cities and strong second tier cities, we already see the light, and we already see the increase of the transaction, which means that the government did the right thing, and we're happy that eventually we make it and survive this turmoil and survival this very hard test, very pressure test. So the next year outlook, transaction volume may stabilize, but structural winners will become far more visible. A uniform nationwide rebound, if we are expecting that it possibly won't happen next year yet, but the market's divergence will accelerate, making asset selection the critical factor for success. As we estimate, a broad-based recovery is unlikely. And nationwide, the transaction volume is still going to decrease. But in selected cities like first tier and strong second tier cities, those markets are going to find a new equilibrium, and the transaction volume is going to get back on those cities as well. And there's going to be the stronger will become stronger, the weaker will become weaker. is the tendency that we see is going to happen in a year to come. Starting from 2026, we see that strong cities, high quality homes in the best located neighborhood with the best sort of property management. Essentially, those back to the real estate 101 location, location, and location. Those properties is gonna emerge as a opportunity for the investors and for the end users who actually is gonna purchase property and live in it to find out those emerging opportunities and buy those properties. So strong cities, high quality homes is the way to go if you ever thinking purchase properties in China in the years to come. So again, for the international participants, if as Christine mentioned at the very beginning of the session, Chinese buyers are still among the top buyers who are willing and is able to purchase property in the States with all cash. So there is a need and there is a market for the Chinese buyers in the States for sure. And I happen to work for the largest real estate agency in China for like 7 years before year 2022. And I recall in those days, that company generate about 1,000 solid leads per day from their online platform alone. So there is no doubt that Chinese buyers is still pretty strong and still pretty willing to purchase properties. You just need to find the decent partners over there in the States, such as understand the culture and have the solid local understanding of the knowledge and is able to communicate cross-culturally. And those are the criteria that are sort of very fundamental and mandatory if anyone want to work with international buyer and the seller. I'm sure New York City is international already, and I'm sure that you guys all have experience working with not only Chinese buyer, but all international buyers from all around of the world. And I truly admire New York City, and I love the property and the market atmosphere and the people over there as well. Real estate professionals over there are definitely the role model of many of the Chinese counterparts here as well. And I truly appreciate Yushi. Always helping me in helping us, signing MOUs and support us, and even considering to attend our national conference this year. And I truly appreciate the support and help from LIBOR. So pretty much this is the part that I'm able to share with all of you. It is truly an honor for me to be able to share the current status of Chinese real estate market and how it's structurally evolving and what is this evolving means for the international participants like the agents in the States, especially in the New York City. I hope the information I share today is beneficial and helpful for you to better understand our market. And from here, I'm going to turn over back to Christine and Yushi. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Chi. We appreciate all that information. It was excellent. I know we have some questions in the chat, Evan. You want to discuss that?
Actually, yeah. So the first question is, are there any requirements for an American to buy residential or commercial properties in China?
It's a very good question. Even actually, there are two criteria for any foreigners to purchase properties in China. One is that you got to have a long-term stay visa in China. At least, the visa is gonna valid for more than 1 year. As for example, you get a student visa, a work visa, or like a spouse visa over there in China. This is number one criteria. Number two, you have to be physically stay in China for over a year before you're eligible to purchase either a residential property or commercial property. So those are the two criteria. Number one, you gotta have a long-term stay visa. Number two, you have to physically present in China for more than 1 year.
Can Americans or foreigners is there any sort of like mortgage or financing options available?
Yes, yes, yes. Actually, right now, since we are in the down market, so that the government is strongly supporting that initiative. And as far as I understand, U.S. banks like Citibank, or Citibank is sort of withdrawing from China. I know at least the HSBC and the Standard Charters, they have a mortgage program for foreigners. As long as you're eligible to purchase property in China, mortgage is not an issue at this stage in China.
Where are you seeing the most investment happening? Like from foreigners? Are they buying in those tier one and tier two areas, or are they buying in more of those fixer-upper areas and trying to do like some land development, for lack of a better term?
Um, I believe right now the foreigners are not that as speculative as we Chinese are at this stage. So they purchase property based on their personal like need. For example, they are student, then they purchase property in the cities they live in, regardless as first tier, second tier, or third tier city, because they're gonna sell it after a year anyway, and they're not allowed to keep that forever. So my understanding is that for foreigners, I wouldn't say 100%, but a great majority, maybe like 60 or 70% of the foreigners that purchase property for their personal like use. It's not that speculative as far as I understand.
This is actually the last question that we have in the chat. Christine, if you have any questions, feel free to
I will
jump
when you're
in.
done. Yeah.
Actually, a couple of other ones are coming through. Um, you might have touched upon this. Housing affordability is also a concern in China right now.
Oh, sorry, I see that 70 years. I'm reading that. Oh, sorry. Can you say your question again? Sorry, I
Actually,
didn't notice.
it's the question right above that one. Might have missed this. Is housing affordability also a concern in China?
Um, Not for Chinese buyers, especially like in China, the home ownership is more than 90 or 95% nationwide. For a lot of young people, they might not have a property in the first tier city, but they do have their own property in their hometown. Possibly could be a second tier, third tier city. Of course, in the first tier or strong second tier cities, affordability is always an issue, regardless whether you are local or you are like from other part of China, because the price is relatively high. And in absolute value and in terms of the sort of number of years you have to work to get to a down payment and everything. But right now, I think one of the reason government is doing this sort of government regulation change is trying to squeeze the bubble from the real estate property, regardless in first tier, second tier cities. So, I mean, the answer to the question is yes and no. Yes, we do have some affordability issues in the first tier, second tier cities, but for those young people, they do have their own properties in their hometown. So generally speaking, Chinese home ownership is pretty high, 90 plus intent. Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of ownership can the buyer get? 70 years?
I mean, in China, we do not have, you know, freehold. We have leasehold. It varies between 40 years, 50 years to 70 years, depends on the property type. Like for the commercial property, it's usually 40 years, 50 years. For the residential units, it's like 70 years. But the good news is that the government has already issued a new regulation indicating that upon maturity of the 70 years, you have a right to renew that leasehold to another 70 years with relatively low expenditure. It's like 4 digits Chinese currency. It's like a couple hundred US dollars. So I think it's affordable and acceptable.
Um, are there
So, okay.
property taxes or transfer taxes or sales tax or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, for we in China we do have two cities, Shanghai and Chongqing. We do have property tax in those two cities, but for the new property only, and for the properties that is greater than 180 square meters only. And there is just test the water, I guess. Government find out that it's not people doesn't like that. And right now we are in a down market, so those test market has stopped. So to answer your question, we do not have property tax at this stage yet. But we do have like transaction tax and like value adding tax and those personal income tax. Those are very normal and very common as well. A range between like 3 to 20% depends on the type of the tax.
Do you know who like currently is the big investors in China? Like which countries are the main or like the top five or something like that?
Um, Interestingly enough, a lot of people from Africa is investing in China just because we do a lot of I mean China is working it's collaborating a lot with a lot of African countries. We trying to absorb their students to study almost for free in our country. And we support them scholarships and everything, and we like invest a lot of money in their countries to helping them set up like factories and some other facilities so that they send a lot of people to purchase property and live in China for a longer term as well. And after COVID, a lot of foreigners, Westerners, especially people from US and Canada, are actually leaving China. So we are losing a lot of purchasing power from that segment. But right now, I'm happy to say that a lot of people from Africa and Southeast Asia are quickly filling those gaps. I'm hoping you guys are coming back to purchase Chinese property to help us, the better survive this stage as well.
Well, maybe there are some people on here that can help out with that, right? Can you give a can you give a little bit more information about the expo in Sanya on March 19th and 20th?
Oh yeah, sure, sure, sure. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. That is annual convention of Korea, and we usually have more than 400 participants from nationwide. As you know, Chinese agencies, we are not like individual membership. We are like institutional membership. So that those 400 institution members truly represent a lot. Almost all the industry participants nationwide is going to join that events. So it is a huge opportunity to get to know how Chinese counterparts are doing and what's our like favorite projects and what are things on our mind. And we're going to have a lot of opportunity to see the government officials who announce the new regulations. We're going to have time to mingle with the entire nation's top producers and the general managers and the chairmen and those executives from all the real estate agencies throughout China is going to be there, and definitely it's going to be a huge opportunity to network.
Thank you for that. That sounds like a great event.
Yeah.
We'll if we have the link or anything like that, any information, we'll send it out to our to the
Yes.
attendees on
Yes.
here. Yeah.
Yes, please. You should have all my contact information like Facebook, like WhatsApp, like WeChat, anything. If you guys need me to connect you guys like agents with some like Chinese counterparts, I'll be more than happy to do that. Just feel free.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Christine, you got any other questions?
Actually, a lot of the questions have already been answered. But just for clarity purposes, so
Yes.
you never fully own the property outright ever, right? It's always in a land lease that has to be renewed over those 70 years. So there's no
Yes.
true ownership in China for any property, correct?
Uh, I mean, if you can renew that every 70 years, I mean, essentially you can consider that as eternal ownership. But technically speaking, you are right. We do not have the freehold like you guys have in the
Right.
States. We can never officially own the land because based on the Constitution, the land belongs to the country. Doesn't
Right.
belong to the people who live there. Yeah, I think it's, I
Understood.
guess it's fundamental difference over there. Yeah.
Gotcha. So I want to see if Ling Chow would like to say a few words before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting me this morning. I'm from Los Angeles, so it's a little bit early for me here in West Coast. I am the new NAR Global Ambassador to China, and thank you, Yoshi, for inviting me to come to today's meeting. And very good presentation, Jean. I was very, very impressed by your presentation.
Thank you,
And
Lynn.
congratulations to the Long Island Board of Realtors that you won the 2025 Platinum Award for the Global Business Council. Congratulations. That was a hard work. It's hard
Thank
to
you.
get that. Congratulations again. And thank you for inviting me. And hopefully I'll see you guys at NAR NX in New Orleans in 2026. Thank you very much.
Thank you for everyone that participated in this webinar today. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help, and we can make connections with Jean if you need to as well. So have a great day, everybody.